It's great to see all of you here today. And I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to the chairman for putting together the lunch. Thank all of you for turning out for a long lunch. Hope you're not missing too much work. And I also want to thank my wife today, who is my better half. She's sitting over there. And without her, I wouldn't be able to do this because with a child at home and other jobs to attend to, a supportive wife is what really makes this happen. I have no problem admitting to that. Many asked me who was going to run. I'm involved in a lot of capacities in this community, many of them not recognizable, many of them behind the scenes. And there were those that raised concerns. And so these are friends and family, people I interact with on a daily basis, people who I see in my neighborhood. And they asked me, who's going to run? And over I told them, if you have concerns, why don't you do it? Why don't you run for town council? I appreciated what Jack had to say about his concerns with Heartland. He had some concerns, some complaints, and so he said, well, I can sit by and I can raise those, or I can step up and run on my own. And that's what I've told my friends and family. And when it came down to it, there were people who had concerns about the way things were going. And as I talked to them, what I said was, who do you want to run? Let's find someone. And over the response was the same. Why don't you do it? Well, I'm a busy guy. That's what I told him. I got a new baby at home. I got a wife. I got a company that I'm trying to get started on my own. I teach at Illinois State University. I'm involved in boards and commissions. I'm active in my church. Just not enough time. But at the end of the day, if you have these concerns and people call out to you and say, why don't you do it, and you truly believe in the cause, it's your job to step up. And so I have. Many ask me why I chose, and today I want to answer that question with a few numbers. Now look, I teach public speaking at Illinois State University. That's one of the things I teach. I teach debate and those sorts of things. And so let me just give you a little warning, okay? I'm going to break a rule. I always tell my students, don't throw in too many numbers. So when you throw in lots of numbers, things get a little confusing and the listener has a hard time following. So if you want to hear these numbers again, feel free to email me, contact me through the website. You can see we have some literature for you. I'll send you these numbers on my own. I have nothing to hide. So let's take a trip through some numbers and just bear with me on this. First number I want to talk about, 85 million. 85 million refers to the amount of debt that as of this summer, the town of Normal plans to take on. Now, my opponent, when he took over as mayor, when he was appointed, at that current time, Normal was a pay-as-you-go community, recognized across the country as a pay-as-you-go, debt-free community. Now, I'm not somebody to say that all debt is bad. We have homes, and home debt is okay. We have cars that get us to work so that we can make money and pay for those homes. There's some debt which is acceptable and okay. I'm not somebody that would disagree with that. But what I am saying is, when we look at what that debt pays for, we need to look at priorities. $85 million, every dime of it for Uptown Normal. Now the next question is, are you anti-Uptown Normal? And the answer is no. I'm glad that we've invested in our core community. I'm glad that we've restored areas that needed it. But the question is, at what cost? Let me put it to you this way. Let's break that down to every citizen of Normal. That's $1,700 per citizen. You might look at that and say that that's okay with you. And if you do, by all means, that's your choice. I look at that and say that's too much in one area. I look at that and say we could have accomplished the same goals that we had, revitalizing a core area, for a much smaller price tag. There are different ways of doing business. When I go out to buy a car that gets me to work, I drive American Steel. I'm proud of that. The reason I drive American Steel is because, number one, it provides jobs in this country. Number two, for $30,000, I can get a brand new car that gets me where I need to go for a lot of years. Okay? Now, could I afford to go out and get a BMW, a Mercedes, a nice sedan? By all means, and I don't begrudge anyone for having that. But at the end of the day, my choice is I'd rather spend a little bit less, get what I need, and save the money that I'm not spending for a different cause. It's priorities. Priorities. Look, the question is, $85 million, how are we paying for that? We've got a TIF in place. I'm not going to go into the details of tax increment financing. But But let me explain it to you this way. Typically, TIF is an excellent tool because the bills get paid without any cost to the taxpayer. It's the new development, the new property taxes that are supposed to pay off those bonds. Excellent tool to use. However, this year, just to give you an example, the bonded indebtedness bill is going to be about $4 million. The TIF funds are going to fund less than $400,000 of that. Over $3 million we have to come up with out of the general fund. That's your sales tax, that's your hotel motel tax, that's your food and beverage tax, that's general funds. The same money that pays for streets getting cleared, police on the streets, all of those things. That's a choice. I know where my priorities lie. Another thing I want to point out, the mayor brought up the fact that we have a good bond rating, and that's an excellent thing, and it does help our town and save us some money, and we should be proud of that. However, we also need to look at something and say to ourselves, just because a loan is available, just because we can get more money, should we do it? When a credit card company sends you a letter in the mail that says, take out this credit card, we'll give you a $10,000 line of credit. Is that a good idea? Maybe. You go ahead and take out that credit card and you build up lots of debt, and then they send you a letter that says, we're going to up your limit to $15,000. Is that a good idea? Maybe. The question is, when do you stop? Just because the money's available doesn't mean that you should take it. We need to live within our means. Next number I want to talk about, 30 million and 30 million. And yes, I did say it twice, and I intended to say it twice. Why 30 million, and why twice? The town has $30 million approximately in water projects which are coming due. They've been delayed over and over. They've been pushed back. Money has been spent elsewhere. The reason I said $30 million a second time, there's another TIF district that has been created in Maine and Osage. If you read that document, it essentially says that approximately $30 million in investment is going to have to come from the public entity. 30 million. More debt. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but it's coming. We push off the needs of water, as one example, for a want of new buildings and new development. 30 million.